for joining us, and welcome to episode 17 of Gridiron Glory. I'm Alexander Cook, and today we're going to do college football week 13 highlights, and I'll tell you one thing, there were a lot of highlights. We'll go into the NFL, predict all the games, and we'll, of course, also talk the Heisman race and much, much more on this beautiful Sunday morning. And let's begin on Friday with number 21 Western Michigan hosting Toledo, Waldo Stadium. Perhaps the biggest game Western Michigan has had all year. And they took the big stage like you'd expect them to. They rode the boat and got their 12th win. Western Michigan is 12-0 rolling. There's only one other team that's undefeated. I think you know who that is, but I'll remind you in a little bit. And Toledo is now 9-3, 6-2 in the MAC. And it was an exciting game, especially at first, but in the end, how about those Western Michigan Broncos rowing the boat? I love those guys. And I just want to say good luck, because you're going to face a challenger in the Cotton Bowl, where I expect you'll be. But first things first, win the MAC championship game. And we'll talk about some championship games. We know who's in. And then we had number 20 Houston on the road at Memphis. It all started out when ESPN's Cole Kubelek decided to talk to, Tom Herman. And he asked about, of course, the job situation. And at the time, there's a lot of news out, but we weren't exactly sure if he had a job anywhere yet. So he asked him, and he said, can you confirm that all this stuff out there is wrong about your job, about perhaps leaving Houston? And he said, yes, I can, without a doubt, basically. And then he gets a job. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Of course, Memphis actually gets the win, 48-44 over number 20 Houston off of that huge win against Louisville. And during the ESPN studio show, the reason was a lack of focus. That's why Memphis got one. But obviously a huge win for the Memphis program. Memphis now 8-4, 5-3 in the American Conference. Houston now 9-3, 5-3 in the American Conference. Number 19 Boise State went on the road to play Air Force, and they lost. Boise State, they were hoping they could get to a New Year's Six game, and that puts, you know who, Western Michigan right there in the driver's seat, win the MAC championship game. You're in the Cotton Bowl, as far as I'm concerned. As Air Force gets a 27-20 win over Boise State. Of course, Air Force, a quality team. Now they're 9-3, 5-3 in their conference. And Boise State 10-2 and 6-2 in the Mountain West Conference play. Then we had some Big Ten action, always the day after Thanksgiving. Usually a lot of fun. Iowa hosting number 16 Nebraska. Nebraska off of a nice win against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, but they didn't play too well against Iowa. I went upset in this game, and it turned out to be a good choice because Nebraska got pummeled by Iowa 40-10, and C.J. Beathard, the senior with Iowa, had a good night, 10-15 for 144 yards, 3 touchdowns, and LaShawn Daniels had some huge runs. He had a good night too, of Iowa, of course. 29 carries, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Is Iowa now 8-4, 6-3 in the Big Ten. Nebraska falls to 9-3 and 6-3 in Big Ten play. And then we had a ranked matchup, and we were hoping for a really good game here. Number 5 Washington on the road playing number 23 Washington State. And Washington just controlled the game throughout its entirety, winning 45-17. They especially did really good in that first quarter, scoring 28 points compared to Washington State's Three and Washington State got to the goal line on multiple occasions, but somehow you have Washington coming up with these big stops. And Washington hang to the Pac-12 championship game, but who will they play? That depends on Utah and Colorado, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then we had on Saturday, yesterday, number 25, Navy on the road at SMU, and Navy showcased the offense. 75-31 is your final. Navy ran all over, literally, SMU. Number 24, Stanford, in prime time, at least in the East Coast, taking on Rice. And, well, Rice isn't that good. So Stanford won big. 41-17, your final. Stanford, number 24, moves on to 9-3, 4-2 at home. Rice, 3-9, 1-5 away. And by the way, Navy is 9-2, 7-1 in the American. SMU falls to 5-7, 3-5 in the American, and they won't be going to a bowl game, despite a huge, and I mean an absolutely huge win over Houston. And let's continue on here with our recap. Number 18, West Virginia went on the road to play Iowa State, and they got the job done. 49-19, your final. They rolled as West Virginia now 9-2, 6-2 in the Big 12. Of course, they have one more game, and it's going to be against Baylor. We're going to have a big Big 12 weekend next week. Of course, we'll be talking about that on Friday, giving our picks and big championship, conference championship games. And that's going to be a great weekend, I'm sure. And Iowa State, of course, 3-9, 2-7 in the Big 12. Terrible. Number 17, Tennessee went on the road to play Vandy, and Vandy needs to get one more win. They'll be in a bowl game for the first time in a long time. And they did it! Number 17, Tennessee went down against Vanderbilt. It was a close game for a long time, but then Vandy got the job done, 45-34, your final. And Kyle Schumer of the Commodores had a lights-out night. 416 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's 21-34. Congrats, Commodores, because Derek Mason's got something going. This year, they get back to a bowl game, the gradual process, and make Vandy great again, right? And we're going to have a ranked matchup between number 15, Florida, and number 14, Florida State in just a little bit. But let's go with the ranked versus the unranked first. Number 12, USC taking on Notre Dame. It was close for a while, but then USC pulled away. Your final 45-27, USC. Number 12, USC looks like, to me, the best team, the second best team in the nation after Alabama. But they with their 3 losses, they just don't have a playoff chance. And something else hurt them if they ever had that 0.00001% chance. And we'll get there in a little bit. It's a ranked matchup. Then Kentucky took on number 11, Louisville. And that one turned out to be really interesting. So I'll get back to you on that one. Number 7, Penn State down to, at the time, 3-8. Michigan State at the half. And then Penn State dominated. Number 7, Penn State wins 45-12. Penn State now 10-2, 8-1 the Big Ten. Michigan State 3-9, 1-8 in the Big Ten. But this win could have some importance depending on the results of the game. But we're going to have to wait for that one. But later, by the way, Notre Dame is now 4-8, while USC is 9-3. So pretty bad there. Of course, Tennessee 8-4, Vandy 6-6. And let's continue on with our highlight reel. Minnesota taking on number 6, Wisconsin. They had a 17-7 lead at the half. Minnesota, upset alert, but they couldn't finish. Great job in the fourth quarter. And how about a comeback win for the Badgers, showing they can do it all. Their Badgers now 10-2, 7-2 in the Big Ten. And Minnesota 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten. Your final 31-17, Wisconsin at Camp Randall. Of course, Wisconsin was already in the Big Ten championship game because of Nebraska's loss on Friday, but if they want to be in this playoff conversation, they need a win. Every win they can get. They also need help from Washington, which is looking pretty good right now. They're going to face a tough opponent next week in the Pac-12 championship game on a Friday. And then we had South Carolina on the road against their arch rival number 4 Clemson. And good news for South Carolina, they're 6-6, while Clemson is 11-1 after this game. That means that South Carolina gets into a bowl game. But remember how Clemson lost to Pitt? They rolled against South Carolina, completely obliterating their in-state rival and SEC rival 56-7, making South Carolina look like a nobody. And, of course, now we get to the ranked matchups. Number 2, Ohio State, hosting number 3, Michigan in the game. We're going to bring you all the details on that one. Number 13, Auburn took on number 1, Alabama. We'll give you some details on that one. But let's go back down again and go with number 15, Florida, on the road at Doak Campbell Stadium, playing number 14, Florida State. And Seminoles, for the 4th straight year, get a win over their in-state rivals, the Florida Gators, as the Gators kept things close at the half, and it was a 10-3 game. A missed field goal, blocked field goal for Florida State, and that's why they weren't up by bigger points. But in the end, Dalvin Cook got the job done. 31-13, your final. Florida State gets the win. They're now 9-3, while Florida is 8-3. And we talked about some razzle-dazzle on rivalry weekend. Number 11, Louisville, taking on Kentucky. And Kentucky played in this game the entire game, and then they won. Kentucky, 7-5. Louisville, 9-3, 41-38 win. I thought Kentucky would keep this a very competitive game for a half, but I did not think they'd get away with the win. Thought Louisville would come wanting to beat these guys, these rivals from the SEC down, but Kentucky said, no, you don't. Congrats, Wildcats. Congrats, Mark Stoops, because you've got something going over in the Bluegrass State. And now, more ranked matchups. Number 9, Colorado, hosting number 22, Utah. Colorado gets a 27-22 win. And with that, Colorado will play Washington, the Pac-12 championship game this Friday. And we'll bring you coverage of that, pregame coverage. And I'll give you the details on that in just a little bit. And then, let's go back here to number 1, Alabama, hosting number 13, Auburn. And Auburn was in this thing at halftime. 13-9 was your score, and then Alabama, as you know, would get away. 30-12 is your final score, as things were pretty close at the half, but the Auburn offense, and I think Gary Danielson put this best. Auburn has no quarterback. Well, guess what, Gary? I agree with you. Auburn has no quarterback. Yeah, they do have that Jeremy Johnson guy who throws an interception every time he turns around. They have that Franklin guy who can apparently run really well, but he can't throw a football. They have an injured Sean White, and he isn't even that great when he's not injured. Cameron Petway was held. Come on! You gotta have some... This is just terrible recruiting by Gus Malzahn. And you'll want to send me a direct message on Twitter at @thefootballkids. And @thefootballkids, any questions you have, or just mention me in your tweet. I'll answer your questions. Because absolutely terrible quarterback play for Auburn. And you got this freshman in Jalen Hurts who's so good, yet Auburn has a senior who can't do anything. It's absolutely embarrassing. It's full of ridicule. It's absolutely terrible. The Gus Bus will probably stop rolling after next year. And we had, of course, the game, 2016 edition of the game. It's called the game because we don't need no fancy name, according to one of the Ohio State fans who named Lynn Mills on Twitter. Who is a big Ohio State fan. She was pretty impressed by my pick last week, but here's my view on that game. I'm not going to give you my final yet because there's controversy in that game. First of all, this was absolutely a phenomenal game. And I don't think anyone can argue with that. Absolutely no one. Now, people are going to argue my view on something in this game, but you can't argue with that the game number 113 was a phenomenal game, and this is, if you have a rivalry game, other than Auburn, Alabama, that needs to go into double overtime, this was it. Okay? Now, here's what I said were the keys for Michigan winning this game. First thing, make JT Barrett throw. You can't let him just keep escaping, and Michigan let him escape. And it's just not, Michigan has a great pass. Michigan can get the job done if you don't let JT Barrett get away. Now, we had 2 missed field goals for Ohio State. We should first talk about that. During regulation, 2 missed field goals. But Michigan was up 17-7 at one point. That's right, 17-7. Yet they blew it. And before you know it, it's 17-17. And it's the end of regulation at the shoe. Then we go into overtime. Ohio State gets the ball first. They score. It's 24-7. And on 4th and goal, Wilton Spate got the job done. And a touchdown catch. A very good one for Michigan. We've tied things up 24-24. Michigan kicks a field goal. That usually doesn't turn out too well. It's 27-24. They kick it in double overtime. And then we have a 4th and goal for Ohio State. A 4th and 1. This was after Curtis Samuel they gave the ball to Curtis Samuel, and he ran all over the field. Yet Michigan lets him get 1 yard short of the first down. It's a 3rd down and forever. And now Ohio State has a chance. Michigan took a timeout. And you got to know that JT Barrett is going to run this ball. Whenever the big situation comes, JT Barrett is running this ball. And JT Barrett did run the ball. The ruling on the field, he got very close, first of all. He was so close. It was this close. He got it. This could have gone either way. But he was so close. The officials, the referees, went with the forward progress and said he got the first down, but then they reviewed the spot. Now, here's the thing. He was stopped well short. Not well short, but he was obviously stopped short, about half yard short when he landed on the ground. I'm going to give you that. But the fullest extent of the ball, when there's defensive contact, there's already contact that forced him forward, but he was not down. He got right on the line to gain, got right on the marker, basically. And, of course, this was just a run up the middle. And he was right there, so the officials gave him a first down. And here's the thing. It was so close. This thing was so close, but obviously he was in the air. He got very close. But you have to go the ruling on the field. And so I put out a poll question I want you to answer. Now, I asked if JT Barrett got it. JT Barrett didn't, or unsure but right call. I said unsure but right call. That's my view. Because we can't definitively say right here and now, JT Barrett got that first down. We don't know. He possibly could have. And we can't positively 100% say JT Barrett didn't get the first down. I absolutely know this. No. But the ruling on the field was that the forward progress got him the first down. Now, it could have gone the other way, and I still would say that you have to keep the ruling on the field because there's not conclusive evidence to overturn this call. So I'd like you to please, message me on Twitter, whatever you'd like. Just say at the football kids and then type whatever you'd like, and I'll answer your questions on this. But the ruling on the field was simply that he didn't get it. If the ruling on that he did get it, if the ruling on the field was that he didn't get it, then I'd agree with that. Because there's just not evidence to overturn it, so you have to go with the ruling on the field. JT Barrett got the first down, and the rest was history. Curtis Samuel walks into the end zone, and Ohio State wins the 113th edition of the game. And how fittingly to play this to double OT, just with everything on the line. What a game this was. And I have to tell you, that was one I will remember for a long, long time. And that's all I have to say about that one. Okay, now let's talk coaching situations. Big breaking news. We had a firing of Charlie Strong as expected. We had a hiring of Tom Herman at Texas as expected. We had a hiring of Ed Orgeron at LSU from interim to permanent head coach, and simply because LSU did not want to wait, did not want to play games with Tom Herman. You come here, you don't. And Tom Herman wanted Texas, where he had his fertile recruiting grounds, which made sense. One thing I don't like about Tom Herman, why do you lie? Why don't you try and avoid the question instead of saying, no, we were blah, 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 we didn't know, no, it's all fake, I have nothing going on, we're totally focused, and then you lose the game. I mean, come on, if you can beat Louisville, you can beat Houston, Memphis. And, okay, Memphis, now I'm giving, with all due respect to Memphis, because they certainly played their hearts out on that game, senior day. Great win for Memphis, quality win, and they wanted to win that game, and I bet you that. But Houston, come on. They were not focused, they were not ready, and just pretty bad. Okay, so basically, when it comes to success, I can't really gauge success. I'm going to say that this next year, for sure, that no. I'm going to say this year that Ohio, that just, he's not going to have success, at least his first year. And maybe he will. But I don't think Tom Herman will have success this year. I think Ed Orgeron won't necessarily have success next year. But, we never know, and you shouldn't take my word for it because, these coaches have been decent. Ed Orgeron, we're not so sure about. But meanwhile, because he hasn't really changed the offense, which is what LSU is looking for, but maybe he will, maybe he won't. And then, of course, with when it comes to Tom Herman, I just don't believe he'll absolutely change everything this year. And I think that's a pretty simple thing to say because I don't think we can necessarily say absolutely we cannot change anything. We're going to be able to change everything this year. I just don't think you can say that. So that's why I think these coaches won't have success next year. But, of course, there's always a possibility. Right? There's always a possibility of something happening and them doing extremely well. But also another coaching situation. Mark Helfrich of Oregon is on the hot seat, and Oregon reportedly is looking for another coach. And it looks like they're nearing a decision to fire Mark Helfrich, and I'll tell you why. Simply because Oregon lost in the Civil War to Oregon State. How do you lose to Oregon State? They're terrible. Come on. And yet they lose 34-24. I think Oregon feels like they need to make a change. I think we'll have PJ Fleck coming into some of these conversations, maybe even Purdue, since that's near him, because there are going to be some coaching openings. And PJ Fleck has been really good at Western Michigan. We also have some other coaches to watch. So it'll be a very interesting coaching carousel this year. Well, let's keep moving along here, and let's move to college football playoff predictions. And in the playoff this time, I think let's start with trending up, trending down. And some of these guys are definitely, I'll start with Navy. Trending up, good one. Stanford trending up. Washington State, you can't really lose that battle. Trending down. Utah trending down. They lose again. Western Michigan trending up, looking strong against a good opponent in their conference. Number 20, Houston, definitely trending way down, out of the top 25. Number 19, Boise State is going to be trending down. You don't lose to Air Force if you want to get to the Cotton Bowl and the New Year's Six. Number 18, West Virginia. I'm going to say, I want to tentatively say trending up, but when you play Iowa State, it's not a quality one, but with all the other shakeups, they'll probably move up a few spots. Number 17, Tennessee trending way down. You can't lose to Vandy. Number 16, Nebraska trending down. They played a good opponent in Iowa, but you don't lose that game. Number 15, Florida. And you know those Gators, they're going to be trending down. You just can't keep losing to Florida State. Number 14, Florida State, trending up. Number 13, Auburn, trending down. A terrible loss against Alabama. Number 12, Southern California, USC, trending up. Another good win. Number 11, Louisville, trending way down. You don't lose to Kentucky. Number 10, Oklahoma State, trending about, I would say, the same. They didn't play this week, so they're the same spot. Number 9, Colorado, trending up. Number 8, Oklahoma. They didn't play this week, so just kind of staying where they are. Number 7, Penn State. They didn't look the best in that game, so I want to say stalemate. Number 6, Wisconsin is stalemate. Number 5, Washington, trending up. Number 4, Clemson, trending up. Number 3, Michigan, trending down. Though, close game. Number 2, Ohio State, trending way up. Number 1, Alabama, trending up as high as you can go, but we can't go any higher. But they haven't looked like the most impressive team these past few weeks, but still, they're getting the W's, and that's what counts. Alabama, the only undefeated 12-0 team in the FBS besides Western Michigan. And here's how my top 10 will look. Starting at the top, number 1, Alabama, they're number 1. Number 2, Ohio State, they're number 2. Number 3, Clemson, they're number 3. Now, number 4 is going to be Washington. And I'm going to put Michigan sitting at number 5 just because Wisconsin and Penn State did not have the best wins. And then I'm putting at number 6, Wisconsin. Number 7, Penn State. Number 8, I'm going to put Colorado there because I thought they had a good win against a good Utah team. Number 9, Oklahoma. Number 10, Oklahoma State. So that's just how my top 10 would look for the college football playoff. But, my one prediction that's a little shaky would be Colorado. They might stay in the exact same spot since Oklahoma did not play. So let's move on to the Heisman race before we get to our NFL predictions. And Lamar Jackson is just not looking too good. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson looking really good. And we have some good players in this mix. I'd say at number one, still Lamar Jackson, despite, just terrible games. He's still number one. He's played well. But I'm just, it's hard to say. And then number two, I'd put D.D. Westbrook having a monster year on here. Just absolutely phenomenal. And number two, I'm also going to put Deshaun Watson because he looked great, and I mean great, against South Carolina, in-state rival. Number four, I'm going to put Dante Foreman of Texas, and he's a good rusher, but his team just does not have what it takes to get the job done. And then we have one more spot available. And there I'd probably this is a hard one. Number five, I'm going to put Dante Foreman. And Baker Mayfield. And he looked really good, but at the same time, you just don't think he'll get the win. He didn't play this week. So, in the end, but ESPN basically went the same thing as me, except I changed a few things. Lamar Jackson, number one. D.D. Westbrook, number two. Deshaun Watson, number three. Dante Foreman, number four. Baker Mayfield, number four. So, I just kind of switched number two and number four and number five, adding a number five. So pretty much about the same as ESPN, and they get it right. I mean, they're Heismanology experts, and you got to go the experts. Sort of. Well, I'm an expert, so you need to contact me at the Football Kids, and please ask me some questions. I'll be happy to answer. And then we have today for our NFL games, we have the Titans at the Bears, 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And we have the Jaguars at the Bills, 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. We have Bengals and the Ravens at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS, 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. We're going to have the Cardinals and the Falcons, as well as the Giants and the Browns, the Rams and the Saints, and the 49ers at the Dolphins. And also 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS, we had Chargers at the Texans. 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox, we had the Seahawks and the Buccaneers. 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS, we had the Patriots and the Jets, and the Panthers at the Raiders. And then 8:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sunday Night Football, Chiefs and the Broncos. That'll be a good one. Then on Monday Night Football, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, it'll be Packers at Eagles. So here are my picks, starting with the Titans and the Bears. This week, I think Titans bounce back from a hard loss against the Colts at historic Soldier Field against a bad team. It makes it easy. Bills. Good rushing, bad passing. And their defense is pretty good. Jaguars, just not a terrible team. Bills at home. Give me the Bills at home. And then we have the Bengals and the Ravens. And in this one, the Ravens defense gets the win. I think Bengals just can't get it done on the road at Baltimore, just having a bad season. Cardinals taking on the Falcons, and both teams haven't been the best yet so far, but I'm going to give this one to the Falcons. I think they edge a close win at home. Giants at the Browns. Browns terrible. Give me the Giants. Next, Rams at the Saints. And it's defense versus offense. And I want to go with the defense. Rams get the win on the road, Mercedes-Benz Superdome. 49ers at the Dolphins. And 49ers are just terrible. Give me the Dolphins. Chargers at Texans, and I think Texans are a little bit more balanced, and that's why I want to give Texans a close win at home, bouncing back from a tough loss in Mexico City versus the Raiders, a very good team in the Raiders. Seahawks at the Bucks, and Seahawks have been looking really impressive recently. Give me the Seahawks. And then we have the Patriots at the Jets. Jets have a terrible season. Give me the Patriots. Panthers, Raiders. Panthers not having the best of seasons, but they're in this, but the Raiders, I love those Raiders. Give me the Raiders. I don't love them. It's not bias. It's just they're doing really well. Chiefs at the Broncos, and I want to go with the Broncos here. I think the defense gets the job done, and Chiefs just don't dominate any of the charts. It's just pretty bad in all the charts, and then, of course, Broncos pretty bad in offense, but on defense, they're strong. I think that's what gets them. The one Packers at the Eagles, and the Packers doing terribly. Eagles not doing so well either. I think this one's a pretty evenly matched game. I think it's a close game, but I'm going to give the edge to the Eagles at home. Packers have just not been impressive. Of course, we had some good games after that phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal, Thanksgiving Day NFL slate. Well, that'll do it for Gridiron Glory, episode 17. I'm Alexander Cook from the studio saying so long, and please follow us on Twitter at @TheFootballKids. That's @TheFootballKids. Ask me any questions you had or anything of that sort. Please spread the word about this podcast, and that's the one thing that if you do any of this, please spread the word about us. We want more listeners to come and listen to us, and then please check us out on Facebook by searching Gridiron Glory Sports Podcast. You can please follow us on Google Plus by searching Gridiron Glory Sports Podcast. And please check out our blog at gridironglorysportsblog.weebly.com. Once again, this is Alexander Cook saying so long and have a great Sunday of NFL action.